me know if it works.
I'm just going to hit the refresh button.
Refresh.
Still, there I am.
All right, we got it then. Okie dokie.
You might want to pick up all the crap on your floor.
Listen, you want to come in here and do it?
Nope.
I'll pay you $5. I'll buy you a Dunkin' coffee.
Maybe.
Let's rock and roll, Nicole.
No, I'm not ready. I'm so tired.
It's okay.
The kids need to go back to school soon.
Soon.
I can't survive
It's August. They're going to go soon.
So soon.
All right. Well, happy Friday, everybody. Even though Nicole's not happy today.
I'm always happy. I'm just tired.
Nicole's going to be happy for the next half hour. And then when she goes back inside, she's going to turn into Mommy Monster. Ah, pick up your shoes. Stop peeing on the floor. Stop punching the dog in the butt. Okay.
Oh,
it is Friday Live. I'm Mark.
What? Oh, hi, I'm Nicole.
See, this is what happens. She's
really drink my coffee.
She's playing a game of Fortnite over here. That's what's going on.
I am thinking about getting into Fortnite.
Sandpaper to file down a little bit of a sharp nail. Sometimes that works really well.
You know what else does?
Emery boards?
Yeah.
And nail clippers.
And nail clippers.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, Nicole. All right, so we're going to get into some questions. We've got a couple pre-selected here. We failed to put up the Patreon post because just this week got away from us. So I do have a couple of pre-selected questions. Nicole has the chat room open on YouTube, and she can grab questions from there.
The YouTube.
On the YouTube. And we'll blaze through and have a good time answering questions.
If you're new to watching this and you like it, this is on our Offcuts channel, so Wood Whisperer Offcuts. Be sure to subscribe to it if you want to get notifications, because we try to do this every week. And
yeah, we try to be consistent.
Sometimes, if we hit our goal on Patreon, we do it in the evening.
You say sometimes, but I think we've done it every month.
Right, but last time I checked, we weren't at our goal.
Oh, well. Okay.
It's okay.
All right, so let's get to some questions. We don't have anything to show off, do we? I don't think so.
I got a notification that we had something in the mailbox, but we have company in, and the kids, and the things, and the stuff. And I'm just making tons of excuses. I'm sorry, I stink.
You do, just a little bit.
I just didn't get to the mailbox.
It's okay. So. All right, well, let's get to our questions then. Okay, so I got a question here from Kevin Windsor. He says, I'm making through tenons, actually he spelled it trough tenons, that will be wedged. Is there a rule of thumb regarding the way the wedge is inserted with the grain, cross grain, 90 degrees to the flats on a square or diagonal? Okay, so I just have a little piece of material here as an illustration. And the main rule of thumb is to, kind of like anything in woodworking, think about the grain direction of the material you're putting, you know, the wedges into. So we have a couple different things to be concerned with. So the grain direction of the wood we are inserting the tenon into. So the one with the mortise, right? Pretend this is a bigger board, and you know, anyway, grain is going like this. So this board will naturally split very easily. If something is pushing side to side, it's going to split that way. So if you drive, this is our tenon here, by the way, if you drive a wedge and that wedge is putting pressure like this, you can very well split that piece apart. So you always want your wedges in a case like this to go in the opposite orientation. You want the wedges to apply pressure with the grain this way, right? Because this way the wood is very strong. This way, think about, you know, chopping firewood, right? You just basically put a wedge in there, slap it hard enough, and the wood just kind of splits apart on its own. We do this when we rive wood to get the most stable pieces possible. Let's say you're making a chair or something like that. So you just don't want to encourage the wood to split anymore. So that's the general rule of thumb. Now, whether you turn this guy the other way, you know, the mortise itself could be the other orientation. You just have to think about that rule and apply it to whatever your particular scenario is. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Did you catch all that, Nicole?
You know, I used to chop wood.
Chopping wood. Dad used to say,
we heat it with wood
it's freezing,
heat.
Nicole, go chop some wood.
That's exactly what would be the situation.
Nicole went outside. Okay. Chop.
I wouldn't chop like the big wood.
Yeah.
I would chop some off for Kinlin. And
Kinlin?
Kinlin.
Kinlin?
How do you say it?
Not like that.
Kinlin.
Sometimes, you know, I've been married to you for how long, and together with you for how long, and I've never heard you say that word. because that would have been just great opportunity to make fun of you.
You always do.
I've been chopping some Kinlin.
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 But anyway, you go get Kinlin.
How do you spell that?
I don't know. That's how
Kinlin. Kinlin.
Kinlin. Anyway.
Yes. Okay.
So I would have to go out. So we had a metal wheelbarrow, and we'd had ricks of wood, and then I'd have to go out there, and if I couldn't find sticks, I have to chop it off.
And make your own Kinlin.
And then I'd load it up, and my gloves would like freeze to the metal wheelbarrow as I'm like bringing the wood in.
It's pretty sweet.
It was. That's why I lived in Arizona for 10 years, by the way.
And now we can't even get you to mow the lawn.
Don't say that. I mowed the lawn when you were at Mark Adams.
I know, there was one time. There was one time.
I would do it, but I do other things.
Well, it is Friday. That is my lawn mowing day. Yeah, if you want to pick up the weed whacker.
I got injured at the pool yesterday. I'm really sore. Yeah. I fell into the pool. It was so embarrassing.
Atta girl. Okay, let's get to our next question.
Anyway. Yep.
So Josh Doolittle says, what's your favorite inexpensive tool that makes your life easier in the shop? Right here. This is a number 80 cabinet scraper. There are newer versions. Veritas has one at the Lee Valley store. That's kind of a copy of this, probably a new and improved version, but this works just fine. If you can find one of these guys, it's an old Stanley number 80. If you could find them used, eBay, someone who's just offloading a bunch of old tools, you might find something like this. I think these cabinet scrapers are just fantastic. They have a nice wide sole on them, almost like a hand plane, and it allows you. I just used it this morning. I posted a video this morning of me using this to clean up, and you do a little bit of flattening, but not a lot with a tool like this, but it's mostly surface prep prior to finishing. Going through a whole big tabletop with one of these saves me a whole bunch of sanding, all right? So number 80 cabinet scraper, not too expensive, especially if you find a good one used. Well, I don't think they make them anymore, so you have to find them used.
I just realized Thomas Kelly in the chat room says, Kinlin is Missouri speak for little sticks. I just assumed everybody knew that term, but there probably are people who don't know what it is.
Well, no, most people know it as kindling.
Kindling?
Kindling.
Kindling.
Kindling. You twist it. You twist it. You know what what's the movie reference?
I don't.
Anyone know that movie reference?
I don't know.
You twist it. You twist it.
I don't remember. I'm too tired.
And the word is kindling.
Kindling.
It's just when you are lazy and you want to take certain consonants and vowels out of a word, you might abbreviate it to kindling.
Kindling. Greg Sutherland says, I was given a finished tabletop from highly figured maple. It sat in somebody's shop, potentially exposed, and got some funky tan lines. What's the best way to fix it? Sanding, planing?
Well, it depends on how deep. A lot of times those flaws are only skin deep, and you could scrape it with your inexpensive but handy Stanley number 80 cabinet scraper. You could use a card scraper. Sanding is certainly an option, but you may be there for a while depending on how deep that color change went. So, a lot of times you got he got it from someone else?
Yeah.
So it may need enough work to justify a complete scraping, or if you have a smoother, or well, my jack plane's in use over there, but smoothing plane might be something that you could use as well. Keep in mind, highly figured, you're probably better off with something like a jack plane that you could put at a high angle so that you don't have to worry about tear out. But scrapers, I think, would be your safest bet for that.
Nell Mall. Mark, how do you feel about other YouTube woodworkers opening online schools? Are there very many?
It's quite a few.
Is there?
A lot.
Oh, well. We're still the best.
Well, how do I feel about it? I'm glad to see people making a successful go at it. It is funny to me when some of them, I'm not going to name names, who were basically running campaigns against charging for woodworking are now charging for their woodworking. That's actually very satisfying to see. But honestly, I wish everybody luck. Do their thing.
I think all around, it's good for the craft. It's good for, as long as they're doing good instruction and,
Yeah, I mean, it's a natural evolution of what we are doing online. And it just took, we've been doing it for a long time because it made the most sense to us to be able to provide the type of instruction we want to provide. I haven't seen what any of them are doing inside there, but when I hear feedback from folks on these programs, like I always hear good feedback. There's always a chance that someone may come along and make one of these things and a bunch of people are doing it and building trust. so that you feel like, oh, all these people are trustworthy, and some jerk is going to come along and start charging money, and they're going to screw it up, and that can be problematic. I don't think anyone's...
That happened a long time ago.
Yeah, that happened, but it happened with like the business of woodworking. Someone did something where people just kind of got screwed over, but it was the previous goodwill that was established that made people think, oh, these are all good, and they're not all the same. So, but it's great.
Just do your homework, that's all.
And obviously, some people are more trustworthy than others. I think right now, everyone who's doing it for the most part, I think everybody's trustworthy, and the feedback I've heard, just what little I hear, has been good on these things. That said, the Guild is the best.
Oh, Great Outdoors, Gazank got it.
Boom, baby! You twist it, you twist it. Let me get one of mine. Yeah. Let's see. Matthew Hills says, "What would be the best finish for a desk made of oak?" Here's the thing. The best finish. There is no best finish. The thing is, it depends on who you ask, and it depends on what your needs are, and also what you happen to be skillful at applying. There's lots of different finishes that will work. Just about any finish you can buy will add some protection, some moisture resistance, and add a degree of stability. And that's all we can really ask of a finish. But what it looks like, how much of that protection is provided, those things all change, and it can depend on what you're looking for. So I'm finishing my desk right now, and it
looks beautiful, by the way.
Well,
I was just looking at it going, wow.
Maybe I'll spin the camera around later.
It's really nice.
So that's one of the things I'm thinking about, is what finish to apply. Now, a lot of people are talking about these single coat finishes like Osmo, Odie's Oil, Rubio, Monocoat, these things. And I have worked with 2 out of those 3, so I figured let me give Odie's a shot. The reason I'm looking into this is because...
Is Garfield part of that too?
No, that's good. That's really good. I've been reading a lot of Garfield with Mateo.
I know.
So the reason I want to try it, though, is because I am trying to limit the amount of chemicals in my life. I've mentioned this, probably about 6 months ago. So finishes that don't have any nasty stuff in them, that's kind of appealing to me. I want to see where this goes, and I want to see how much protection they offer. So I am actually going to use Odie's Oil on my desk.
Because you used Osmo last time, right?
On the coffee table, I used Osmo.
Osmo.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, I have very minimal expectations for a finish like that. There are no miracle one-coat finishes. And if it's one coat and it's just an oil and there's no VOCs, chances are it's going to offer a little bit of protection and a very natural-looking finish. But it is also a finish that is probably not going to take spills very well, or abrasion, or heat. So I don't have high expectations, but I want to use it so that I can then come to you guys and say, oh yes, I have used this stuff, and here's the results, here's what you can expect. All right, so something even as simple as those one-coat finishes could be just fine for whatever you're building. It doesn't matter the species, but you also may want more protection. Maybe you want a really shiny finish, so now you're going to look into lacquers or polyurethanes.
Alex Leffelman says, wrong, Armor Seal's the best finish. Next question.
Ah! Well, if you were to look at the results of the test that I did, that might be a conclusion you could walk away with. But again, it depends on your priorities.
Well, yeah, I'm probably...
What if I don't want to smell? Yeah. What if I don't want to smell nasty VOCs?
Yeah, right.
I don't want those up my nose.
Sideband Samurai says, "What's your T-shirt say?" So my brother got this for Mark a few Christmases ago, and it's a cassette tape and
with a Bic pen.
With a Bic pen, a red Bic pen, and this is the
original iPod.
Original iPod. It says, "I am your father," and he's saying,
"No." It's really stupid and nerdy.
I think it's cute.
Mateo likes it. He always goes, "I'm your father." No. Spoiler alert, by the way.
Yes.
Okay.
30 years.
I have
I have more questions. Nathan Tree.
Yep, that guy.
I'm looking.
I know his name from the Guild group,
me too.
though.
I'm looking for a good mortising router bit. I noticed some are like an up-down cut, and some are up cut. Some have bearings. What should I be looking for in a good mortising router bit?
Well, it depends on your strategy. I can just tell you what I do. I like to have an upcut spiral bit. Upcut means if you are using a handheld router, the spiral is in such a orientation that it's going to pull the chips up and out of the mortise, which is good because the less chips, the less dust that's in there, the less chance of extra friction or bouncing. You get chatter sometimes if the bit is working with a lot of material. Also keeps the bit from overheating, which then also extends the life of the bit. So I go with an upcut spiral bit, and Whiteside, Amana, Eagle America, MLCS, all of these companies make really good quality bits, and I think any of them will work. And it's gonna cost, those spiral bits are actually kind of pricey, but they do last quite a while. The spiral orientation gives a nice shearing cut, so it's actually pretty clean, but really upcut is all I do. The only time I would go with a down cut is if I knew that edge was going to be exposed and visible in the final product. You might go down cut, which tends to shear downward and gives you a little bit of a cleaner edge. But even, honestly, with the upcut bits, it's not like I take the router off and I go, damn, look at that ratty edge. It's usually really clean anyway. But that's what I would use. I wouldn't use any kind of bearing setup because unless you have a jig or something that needs, to have a bearing right around the inside, you have no need of a bearing. You'll be using like an edge guide with it. Okay. Mark Nyland says, domino tricks. That's probably not how he pronounced it.
I'm gonna guess.
But that sounds fun to me. I just received my new domino and would like to bypass the pain of the new toy and save myself the embarrassment of screwing up.
It's pretty easy to use, right?
Here's the joy of the domino. If you do nothing else but understand this one thing, maybe it'll be like 2 or 3. Because that's how I am, right? It's a point and shoot kind of device. If you have 2 boards you want to put together and you draw a line, you don't even need a ruler or a square. Just draw a line across the joint with a pencil. Then you grab your domino and line up the center line with that pencil line, plunge in, go on the other side, line up the center line of the tool with the line you drew, plunge in, and then put the domino in there, put them together. That's it. That's the joy of it. And those things will be perfectly aligned. And as long as you put your pencil mark in line with the center line on the tool, you're good to go. The other thing, learn where the center point in height is. So you've got that center line on the little grid, plastic see-through grid thing, you know what I'm talking about. You've got your center line there, but you also need to know where your center line is vertically. There's a little metal tab on the side, right? The very top of that tab is the center point of the bit's travel. So if you are trying to get, center thickness on a workpiece, you basically put the domino on there, drop it down until that line itself, the top of that little tab, is in line with your center line. Those 2 things are like the no frills, super simple, treated almost like a biscuit joiner kind of technique that will allow you, honestly, that's 99% of the domino use that I do. Anything beyond that tends to be more specialized stuff. If you're doing large panels, large glue-ups, you may get into spacing things, so you don't have to actually draw pencil lines all the time. You can you do your first cut where it's got a little pin that kind of grabs the side. They have an attachment for that. And you plunge, then the pin goes into the previous mortise, and then you plunge. So you can do things like that too, but honestly, I've got those things, but it's so much easier and quicker.
Sounds like a tool that you just gotta kind of dive into and just...
Dive into it, Mark. It's a great, look, the domino is one of the few true game changer tools to enter the market in the last 20 years.
There you go.
Seriously. No, people who have it know it, and don't scoff, Nicole.
I know.
No scoffing.
What?
You don't want to see Nicole scoff. We just hit the table at the same time. We're like simpatico.
We're becoming the same person. What is up with that?
Oh, you don't want to be any part of this, sister. This is my own problem.
Okay.
Let me wallow in my markness.
What were you talking about? Scoffing.
Scoffing. Okay, let me finish my last question here.
I have a bunch of questions too.
We'll just finish off with all yours.
Okay.
Ryan Bazinga says, are bandsaw blades disposable when they get dull, or are they worth resharpening? I may be wrong.
I'm going to say disposable.
Most bandsaw blades are disposable. And given the price range, even if you could sharpen them,
for the
price of the sharpening.
Slicer.
Well, see, I think the wood slicer might be disposable too. Okay. As far as I know.
I'm just saying words that I remember.
Yeah, just to say things. AccuScribe, band hammer. So, most of the blades that I have do not have carbide tips. So, when that stuff gets dull, I just buy a new one, right? If you have something like a Laguna, the hell's that thing called? The Beastmaster? The Laguna.
The Beastmaster.
No, that's the Driftmaster. Their fence.
Beastmaster, that's like an 80s movie with parrots.
It is, yeah. The Laguna Beastmaster. You guys know what the king, the Resaw King.
Resaw King.
Laguna Beastmaster. If anybody doesn't have a tool called the Beastmaster,
if they
they
make
need
a
to.
Beastmaster, that's going to be
I want my money, man. So the Laguna Resaw King has carbide teeth. Think of it like a table saw. So it's little teeny tiny teeth on there. Those absolutely need to be sharpened because you're paying hundreds of dollars for that blade. So paying for resharpening is definitely worth it. But the question remains, and let's send it to the chat room. Can those cheaper blades be sharpened if they don't have carbide tips? And if they can, you know, who's going to do it and for how much?
I was going to say, yeah. I mean, it gets to a point where
you're not really saving money anymore.
You know, might be paying more money to have it sharpened versus just getting a new blade.
Or if it's something simple. I mean, a lot of times, you know, crazy people sharpen their own hand tools all the time, right? So it might just be something where you get a certain little file.
Are you one of those?
Oh, hey,
those people?
Anytime on Wood Talk, Shannon starts talking about hand sharpening and he talks about fleams and stupid words like that, I just go.
Speaking of Shannon, the albino gorilla.
Yeah.
Chris Helfer at the beginning said, "Hey guys, I finally caught you live while working. You and the albino gorilla have really been so helpful in my journey of the wood."
Well, that's great.
So
it's glad to hear that someone like Shannon.
I don't hear much about Shannon, and he's been around just about as long as we have.
He has.
And
yeah, Shannon. I don't think Shannon gets enough attention. Everyone, you think of hand tools, everyone thinks Roy Underhill, Paul Sellers, Rob Kosman. But the one shining star in the hand tool world, Chris Schwartz.
Chris Schwartz.
The one shining star in the hand tool world that's just underappreciated, but he's up there shining like a beacon.
And he has a school too. I mean,
he does.
Yeah, online school.
Is Shannon Rogers.
The
albino gorilla. It's renaissancewoodworker.com and his online school, which he's probably like the second one in the woodworking world to do that, is at handtoolschool.net. And Shannon he's a brilliant woodworker. He has this fascination, borderline fetish with hand tools that I'm mesmerized by.
Matt Corona says, check someone like Shannon.
There you go. We have one. That's why I'm giving him a little extra time here. I'm going to make sure he sees this.
Give Shannon some love.
We always go like this in our text stream. I go, hey, did you guys get that email from Total Boat Epoxy? And Matt will go, yeah, I got that one too. Shannon will go, nope. Hey, did you guys get that thing? Nope. No, well, Shannon's easy. You know, hand tools, it's a little bit, especially in the hand tool media world and content creation, it's a difficult market, a difficult subsection of woodworking.
It's a niche of a niche.
It's very difficult to monetize. It's a deeper level audience. It might even be a more difficult audience because they tend to be Neanderthals, tend to be a little bit different in personality.
Let's see. You're done with yours.
I am done.
All right. Alan Isaac, is a plunge router worth the extra cost than a fixed one?
First of all, never trust a man with two first names.
I know.
Second of all, yes, I think a plunge router is well worth it.
Can a plunge router be fixed?
If you have two bases, there's a lot of kits out there that come with two separate bases, fixed base and plunge. There has never been a time in my life that with a plunge router I said, man, I wish I had a fixed router. Right? It goes the other way. So if we talked about mortises earlier, if you're plunging mortises, these are things that are much easier to do with a plunge router. Maybe a fixed base, you know, for me, the best use for that might be putting it in a router table. But if we're talking handheld, I have no need for a fixed base router. To me, a router that plunges, you know, easily can do everything a fixed base can do, but does it better, and you have the ability to kind of move up and down and adjust very easily.
Cool.
I do think it's well worth it.
We also have a question from Homegrown Buddy. First time, long time here. Any suggestions on a good quality scribing tool? Lots of gimmicks out there that look fun but not functional.
Okay, well, it depends on what kind of scribing we're talking about. I actually jokingly said the word AccuScribe earlier. AccuScribe is a scribing tool, and that's one of those where you have the little A-frame thing and a little metal thingy on one side and a pencil on the other, and you can kind of scribe to a line, scribe a cabinet to a wall. If that's the kind of scribing you're talking about, I think that I bought that. That's actually a really good scribe. I use that, well, when I scribe, I use it all the time. I just don't happen to scribe things very often. But I don't know if he actually is talking about like a marking tool or a cutting gauge, something like this. That's a different conversation.
Brian Jones wants to know if you've ever worked with pecan wood.
Nope.
How do you say pecan?
Pecan.
Pecan?
No.
How do you say it?
Pecan.
Pecan.
But I think I might have
Pecan.
said it in the past as
Pecan. Pecan.
No. Pecan. Pecan. Pecan.
Keith Douglas.
Crack an egg on it. Sorry.
Teen Titans Go reference, sorry. We went to see the movie. Keith Douglas. Do you have any experience with job site table saws? If you do you have any tips on maximizing my results using one?
All right.
Have you ever used one?
Yeah. Here's how you maximize your results. You pick it up, you find the nearest dumpster, you walk over, you throw it into said dumpster, and go get a better table saw. You know, job site table saws are a little tricky sometimes, and if
really
you
just
put
meant to cut wood, like 2x4s, right? 2x4s. I was gonna say 2x4s, and I just said wood.
I think those are meant to cut wood, right? Yes, Nicole. Yes, they are. It's so clear. You've been you've been in the woodworking world for over a decade now. And it's quite obvious.
Like quick, like literally, they're called job site because they're on the job site, and they're just meant to like.
It's a table saw,
yeah.
So yeah, I mean it's a job site saw. The primary use of it is likely to be construction projects where accuracy is not quite as important as a fine furniture shop. You know, getting that fence to be perfectly stable so it doesn't move at all. These are not things that are quite as important on that particular tool because of what it was intended to do. So if you are trying to adapt this to shop use, I haven't really done a lot of work with them to make them good because I tend to throw money at my problems. So when a saw is just not working well enough, I will just upgrade, right? If it's not intended for that purpose or it's too much of an uphill battle, I move on to the next thing. That said, I understand a lot of people aren't in a position to do that or don't want to. So I would make sure you get that fence, do whatever you can to get that fence to lock down securely. It's one of the biggest problems is you move them around, no, not super glue. You move them around, put it down, you might get it set up so it's nice and parallel with the blade, then you move it again, put it down, and suddenly it's off and you're not able to get a perfectly straight cut. And you always hear people talking about like, I have to check this thing every time to make sure that the fence is actually straight. So, you know, there's only so many things you can do to improve upon what the manufacturer did, but look around, look for your particular model. You may find videos of people who've done aftermarket mods to these things to make them a little bit better and a little bit more secure and safer to use. I think the extent of my job site use was when I had that DeWalt battery-powered one, the FlexVolt.
Oh yeah,
here.
right.
I think, actually, didn't I have a jet one at one time? Back at the old house, they sent me one to review.
Yeah.
And before that, I had, well, my Craftsman was a...
Was Craftsman? I thought we got you...
It wasn't a job site saw, it was a contractor saw, which is the one with the legs. It's basically a job site on a stand. Okay. That's just maybe a little bit better.
It was like your first saw, too, right?
It was, yeah. So even that DeWalt, a saw that was made, you know, in 2017, you know, you would think they've learned a lot and they made improvements. Well, they did. There were certain things that were better, but I still had problems cutting large pieces on that because of stability. It felt like the blade just kind of wanted to warp and move on me. The fence wasn't that stable. Scary. It can be scary. Yeah. And that's actually why I think the table saw is one of the most common injuries, is not necessarily, you know, people like us in a shop situation with a cabinet saw. Right. A lot of times it's a job site saw, some person just making a quick cut without all the safety gear.
2x4s.
Boom, it's done. Cutting all those 2x4s.
Basic Berry just asked, do you have any promos on benchcrafted hardware? And I'm assuming by promos you mean like discounts in the guild. So if you're a guild member and you have the Rubo, is it you have to have the Rubo? The Rubo. It's for the Rubo workbench.
It's not just guild members, it's people who have the Rubo project.
Yeah,
so we do have a little bit of a partnership with benchcrafted on that. And I think what is it, 10%?
I thought it was 5.
5%?
I don't.
5 or 10.
If you go to the Wood Whisperer
right.
Guild,
I think it's 5.
.com/discounts, you'll see all of our available discounts for members, and some of those are restricted to the project. So like The grandfather clock, we worked out a deal
Clockit.
with Clockit
Yeah.
and Brusso on the hardware. All right, we got one from Chevrolet Diesel Nation.
Oh, yeah.
Is a combination sander worth getting? Combination.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, if you have a need of the belt and disc, there's different tasks that can be done on both of those. So kind of depends on what you're doing. What I found with mine is I use the disc 99% of the time. And that belt sander is just kind of there. And I've never even changed the paper on it because that's how little I use it. So in my particular situation, I think I'd probably be better served by just the standalone disc sander, maybe a bigger one. But I do think for some people it could be worth it.
Ouch. I'm in a lot of pain.
It's okay. Sorry.
They're there.
They're there.
Michael Newdigate. A friend wants a floating corner desk and recommendations on securing it to a wall with strength. I think I would know this one. You would put that little thingy on the wall and like what you do over here with your doojobbies and the things.
Yes. Yes.
You know what I'm talking about? Where
Sure.
you have you had this big long cabinet. It was like a hanging cabinet.
Right.
And you put a thing where you lift it on it.
Yeah. You're right, though. She's talking about a French cleat.
Hey, there it is.
You know what? I've never made one. I would have to look into, what you would want to do. A true floating desk, I mean, it's a little bit tricky, right? You've got a big overhang, you got a lot of weight, and you got to prevent that thing from sagging. So there are ways, like when you make a floating shelf, there are ways that you can anchor something in and then you pop the shelf on top and then screw it from above or below to secure that in place. But, for a desk, I'm not really a good person to ask because I've never even looked into it. There would have to be some major support.
We made a desk, but it was all, remember the desk at
Yeah, but it wasn't floating.
No, it wasn't floating.
So how does that help this
I
guy?
don't know.
We made a desk before.
We made a desk.
Yeah, so.
But it was on legs.
But the trick is making sure it doesn't sag.
Yeah.
So without some kind of support for it.
Yeah, because even if you use that French cleat, you still have to support the front
Well, in this
of it.
case, I don't even think the French cleat's the good option. It's good for cabinets and stuff like that. In this case, we're looking for something where you'd have an anchor. You might even have an anchor with some supports that come out a little bit further.
I was going to say, it would be...
It would have to be a thick desktop,
like
a hollow desktop that you could then slide on and connect it. But,
I'm sure if you
I'm sure there's a YouTube video for it.
I'm sure there's a video for that.
Yeah, there's
not
gotta
by
be.
us though. We have some super chats. I totally missed these.
Sweet, we'll finish up with those.
One from Chet Kloss. Mark, I know your show was supposed to be about bleaching your hair. Don't do it. Natural is best. Take this money and go buy Starbucks coffee and relax. Yes, I said Starbucks. What is that?
What is Chet talking about?
I have no idea what he's talking about.
Chet, what are you talking
Chet,
about?
what's going on?
No shit, Chet. No shit.
shit.
Chet, I think you may have had too much Starbucks yourself this morning, sir. I don't know what he's talking about with the bleaching.
Yeah. Maybe, were you going to bleach some wood?
I bleached wood a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. Justin Hill, raised dog feeder.
Thank you, Chet.
Yes, thank you. Raised dog feeder. I can't decide if I should attach the apron with a mortise and tenon or if a butt joint would be okay for the situation. I want to build it without mechanical fasteners so pocket screws are out.
Well,
what do you say?
I would probably not ever really join anything with a butt joint if I could help it. If I was going to do a butt joint, it would have to be reinforced.
These are dogs. They're gonna knock the feeder around.
Yeah, I mean it's going to probably get wet, so there's going to be some expansion and contraction. You might have to be a little bit more concerned with. I would mortise and tenon it. So, but again, if you go butt joints, you're not using pocket screws, but you certainly could do a butt joint reinforced with dowels, right? So there's no mechanical fasteners, but you're kind of simulating a dowel joint or a mortise and tenon joint that way. I would just go mortise and tenon.
One last question from Kevin Thomas, because I want to address this.
Yeah.
What's your secret to getting your wife to love woodworking? Well, I'm going to tell you something. Is it Keith? Was it Keith? Kevin. Close enough. Sorry. I don't love woodworking. I love crafting.
Yeah.
I've
You're asking the wrong person.
Yeah, I don't do woodworking. I do a little bit of turning, and I want to get into scroll sawing. But I also do. I've always loved just any kind of making stuff from scratch. So that show Making It is getting kind of bashed on our community forum, and I'm kind of not liking that because I think that's a great show. It's showing all kinds of different mediums, and it's showing there's somebody that has quilting experience, there's a woodworker, there's a woman that does paper. So I think it's a fun show, and I don't appreciate you looking at your watch while I'm talking.
But we had someone go through the front door. It was a notification.
It's fine. It's my cousin.
But it's
okay. My point is,
it's an Apple Watch, Nicole.
I love making.
And Nicole's involved in the woodworking because this is our business.
Yeah.
I think you love our business more than you love woodworking.
I love business. Yeah.
I think that the community aspects, the business brainstorming, the marketing, these are all things that you thrive in.
Yeah.
It just happens to be that I do the woodworking, so
and I just
it's about woodworking.
Learn by how do they just
osmosis.
Osmosis.
So
sounds like a fish.
But what he's trying to do, like, I don't know that your goal should be to get your wife to love woodworking. I think your goal should be to get her to love the fact that you love woodworking.
Yeah.
Right? So how do we go about that?
Make her stuff.
We always say this. Make her things that she can't find in the store. Make her things that, just like Mom used to love getting the homemade cards more than a store-bought card. Make something from the heart that she could really appreciate. And if you can, make things that you guys either can't afford or wouldn't want to spend the money on, and you just made it, and now you have it. Like this executive desk is a good example. I would never buy an executive desk of this caliber. I can't even imagine what it would cost. But I made it, and it's mine, and I get to use it. Now let's say I made that for you, you'd be pretty happy about it.
I love woodworking.
You love woodworking, right? So make her love that you love woodworking. And if she has an interest and wants to see how things are done in the shop, invite her in, show her the ropes. But until then, I wouldn't even worry about getting her in the shop so much as getting her excited about your craft.
Michael Gomez says, Woodworker could add sewing or another craft to the guild. Nicole could be the first guest instructor.
Oh, there you go. Do we want to be like, you want to be like Craftsy?
No, I don't.
And we'll get into all these disciplines?
That's all right.
Yeah.
I
got my hands full with the woodworking.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
Seriously.
I'm okay. I like just doing my crafting for myself and for my family.
So, speaking of the guild.
Yes.
This is a monumental, groundbreaking day.
Oh my goodness.
Today we released a total of 8 videos.
What?
Over 4 different projects.
I heard you don't do anything.
I don't.
Anymore.
Well, if you ask YouTube, I'm sitting on my ass all week. I don't do anything. But so you got Matt Cremona with his sideboard project. He's got a new video. Then you got the Parsons table with Johnny Bravo.
Yep.
I think he minds when I say that.
Probably does.
Johnny Brook. And Anne's writing desk is out. Her first 5 videos are dropping on one day.
Alex said he's watched them already. There's no way you watched them already.
No, it's possible. I published them
last night.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dude, you're on it.
And then Executive Desk, my project, we're doing the hidden drawer in today's episode. So it's like, I never envisioned having more than 1 video release in a week, let alone like dropping 8 videos over the course of 4 different projects. So if you are not a guild member, just go check it out. Might not be something you're into right now, but maybe when your woodworking is there and you're ready to invest in your woodworking education, highly recommend the guild. I'm a little biased. Anne got in there, right, as an instructor, and she's starting to help write her posts and get everything together. It's her first time, and she basically made a comment. She's like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of stuff that has to happen. Like, there's a lot of things. Like, do people know how much you get with the guild project? And I'm like, well I should tell them.
The people in it do.
They sure do. But people outside.
But we're not good at, we're awesome.
We're just not that aggressive about it. Yeah. We're not taking out, Instagram and Facebook ads.
We're not sponsoring the TV show Making It.
No. Though we should be, honestly.
Yes.
All right, so I think we could wrap it up. Do we want to pick a winner?
Sure. I have a bunch of over here.
Okay, I have a winner in mind.
Okay.
Can I, or do you want to pick one?
No, you can. You know what? Let's pick 2, since I think we missed last week.
I just don't want to get yelled at. I know you.
When I
we'll make off the cuff decisions, Nicole gets upset. Okay, I'm going to pick Kevin Windsor's question because I really like that discussion of the grain direction. And we're picking guild. Speaking of the guild, we're picking people who won a free project.
Or a free project in the guild.
Yeah.
And I will pick Keith Douglas, who was asking about the job site table saws.
Okay, Keith.
Keith, email me, Nicole@thewoodwhisperer.com.
Kevin as well.
And Kevin, I know you're in
He's a guild member.
You're in the guild. I'll reach out to you through Facebook. In fact, I'm doing it right now.
Yeah.
Yay!
Okay, so I don't think there's anything else I need to announce. I think we're good, right? Hey, before we go, I'm going to pan around if you guys want to see the executive desk, like just days away from being complete. I could show you what it looks like.
Yeah, show.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, show.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely, sure. Okay, let's take a look real quick. Do, 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 do. Spinning around, spinning around.
Lysol tool, yes. All those videos that Mark was talking about are in the guild site.
What?
He was saying all those videos are guild only, and I said yes.
What videos? Oh, the ones I talked about releasing?
The ones you were just talking about.
Yeah, those are our guild only. So let's put this last drawer in to get the full effect. I'm working on the top right
really
now.
Nice. I can't wait to see it with finish on it.
I know. Tell me about it. So we've got a door that needs a little bit of glass here, but there's a magnetic catch. Bing. Bing. Soft close bloom slides.
Ooh, I like that.
Nice, right? File cabinet for those who actually still need file cabinets. There is a secret.
You could put your
hidden,
small little dog in there.
That's true. There is a hidden drawer down here, and I can't call it secret because it's definitely not secret anymore. Do you know, I install hidden drawers on lots of things, and do you know how many I actually use?
I don't care. I love them.
It's a neat thing.
I'm the one that always pushes you to put secret drawers in.
Well, people love them, but I don't use them. Like, I don't know. We have a safe for really important stuff. Mm-hmm. I guess, you know what? If you are someone who is fond of firearms, for instance, there are people, I don't know,
yeah.
maybe you're like, I don't know, you cash checks. You're a check cashing business, and you're Mr. Big Guy, and all the people come to you to cash your checks.
I love your thought process on this.
This is obviously something I've seen in a movie, and you need to have a firearm in your desk. Maybe, okay, that's a terrible idea. I don't even own a gun, let alone many guns that would necessitate an entire rack. So back here, there's a nice wire gutter, which allows sort of a communication between...
Can you nap underneath there?
Yeah, there is actually a shelf for a coffee cup and, yeah, Costanza references. So there is a wire gutter back here, so you can have wire power communication wires going in the back that also talks to this area. There will be a ventilation fan over on this side, and all my heat producing gear is going to be on this side. So that's the desk, yo.
Hide your weed.
Hide your weed.
If you're in a state that doesn't have it legal yet.
If you need to hide your weed, hide your weed. Okay, well I think that's about it. I'm going to turn back around. Oh, I didn't have the autofocus on. Hopefully that still looked okay.
It probably didn't.
Probably not. Oh well. Okay. Oh.
All right. Oh, what?
I don't think there's going to be a show next week.
Oh yeah, Ashley's going to be here next week.
Yeah, so I'm not really sure what's going to happen, but Ashley Harwood is coming out to film, and
for the guild.
Yeah, for the guild, but I don't know if we might be filming on Friday, so depending on the schedule, we may not be able to have a Friday live.
Yeah.
So just tentative.
Yeah.
Just so you know ahead of time, we might have to cancel it.
Okay.
All right, toodles.
I'm not going anywhere.
You want to do the show alone?
No.
Please.
Hi, James King. We're leaving. You're
Ah,
late.
James. James is late.